Well, if you've clicked on this video, that means you probably want to better understand the actual attribution settings inside of Meta. And so what I wanted to do first is just show you that by us taking the time to better understand what attribution to use for this brand specifically, we were able to almost triple their budget last 30 days and spend an additional $22,000 as a result of one, testing landing pages, which is a huge part of our strategy, but also making sure that we were telling Facebook to optimize for the right type of people. We actually spotted an issue inside of our main acquisition campaign that I oftentimes see a lot of brands struggle with. And so what I want to do in this video is show you exactly how you can figure out what attribution setting is right for your brand and how you can leverage it to not only scale your Facebook ad account further, but more importantly, actually drive incrementality from your ads, which is just a big fancy word for meaning you actually see the sales on your store. Okay, you spend money on Facebook ads and you actually see the increase in total sales. One of the biggest complaints that we hear from a lot of brand owners is that their agency is telling them how great performance is, but they just don't really see the increase in sales. And so if you've ever felt like that, this video is going to help you better understand exactly what is going on and actually tell you the truth behind what Facebook is reporting. And my goal is that by the end of this, you are able to apply the right attribution setting for your ad account so you can ultimately scale your brand further. Let's go ahead and jump in. So whether or not you know a lot about attribution settings or maybe you know nothing at all, what I'm going to show you here super quickly before we jump in is the different types of attribution settings that are actually available inside of Facebook. Now, the first one is the default one, which is going to be 7-day click and 1-day view. Now, for those of you that don't understand the difference between click through and view through, just understand this at a very high level. Click through is the attribution that actually drives a lot of sales. Now, don't get me wrong, view through and this new engage view for video only is definitely something that has a place in marketing. Okay, getting view through attribution is kind of like brand awareness, right? It's showing your ads to a bunch of people and Facebook is going to essentially take credit for people that view your ads. However, what happens a lot of the times is people rely on view through attribution to make their ad account look good, but the truth is that you don't actually see a lot of additional sales or a lot of added sales coming from your ad account when you are heavily on view through attribution. And the reason why that is because people don't actually have to take any action from your ad. They just have to be served it. So as long as someone has served your ad and within 24 hours they purchase, Facebook will actually go into your ad account and it will actually mark that as a purchase. Now, to go back into the attribution setting here, when it comes to click-through data, this means that somebody is actually clicking your ad and then going and making a purchase within 7 days. But what we've noticed at the agency is that when we specifically see strong click-through data, there is a way bigger increase in the actual sales that are happening on your Shopify store as a result of creating ads that people click to then go and purchase. So to go back to the basics here, again, the default setting inside of Meta is going to be 7-day click, 1-day view, which in very simple terms basically means if someone clicks an ad and they purchase within 7 days, Facebook will mark that as a purchase or as whatever your objective is inside of the platform. Or if someone views the ad and purchases within 24 hours, and just for context, a view does not mean they have to stop on the ad. You could literally just swipe right by it on an Instagram story. As long as the ad is served and it's viewed by Facebook, that's all that they're counting. So if someone actually views your ad and then purchases 24 hours later, Facebook will also take credit for that as well. Now, the other attribution setting that you can adjust this to is basically 1-day click. And now what 1-day click means is very similar to 1-day view. It means that if somebody clicks your ad and they purchase, but this time within 1 day or 24 hours, Facebook will take attribution for that. And now the setting that you may not know of is the fact that you can actually set the view through to none. And now by setting this to none, what you're actually forcing Facebook to do is to get purchases from people who only click ads. Now, for some brands that are at really big spends, some of them actually will focus on 1-day data. That said, when it comes to what I want to show you and what we changed in that ad account to scale a lot further, this was the actual attribution setting that we used. We set it to 7-day click only with no view through data. So now if we go back into the account, as you can see, if we actually scroll to the right, you'll notice that although we did spend $22,000 and $8,000 or basically $9,000 down here, what you'll notice is that Facebook is actually showing that this campaign should have been scaled. So at first glance, you might be looking at this like, well, this did way better. This is a 5.52x. It almost generated the same amount of purchase conversion value with almost a third of the amount spent, right? And that is what Facebook basically wants you to think, okay? Facebook wants you to think that it's doing a great job. And so when it defaults to 7-day click, 1-day view, and you have a lot of other things happening in your company, maybe you have Google ads running, maybe you have TikTok ads running, maybe you have a big referral program or organic word of mouth or a great customer list that continues to buy over and over again from your store. Well, if that is the case, this is actually a lie, okay? And so the fact that most people look at this and see a 5.52x return on ad spend and consider that this is actually better than this, just don't understand how to properly analyze data. Because with one simple click and moving to the column category over here and going down to compare attribution settings, if we select the 7-day click model, which is only going to show us ads that people have actually clicked and purchased from, what you'll notice here is that these numbers change drastically. So now if we scroll to the right, what you can see here is that this was actually at a 2.19x 7-day click return on ad spend. Now, if I've completely lost you, I promise I'll bring this back around. But what this is telling us is that a lot of this big fancy ROAS that we're seeing and this great CPA that we're seeing is actually false. Because as you can see, over 120 purchases came from view through attribution. And again, like we discussed over here, view through attribution doesn't really drive a lot of incrementality, right? It basically is just collecting attribution, okay? Facebook basically is going to take credit from all of the other work that you're doing. Now, the obvious question is why is Facebook doing that? Why is Facebook trying to trick you, and why are they trying to make it look like the performance is way better than it is? Well, at the end of the day, they are a business, so they are trying to make as much money as they can. But with that said, the reason is because that's what you're telling it to do, okay? And that's something that took us way too long to understand, is that Facebook, similar to ChatGPT, is going to give you outputs based on the inputs that you give it. So if you think about AI or ChatGPT in general, if you give it a really broad or basic prompt, it's going to give you a decent answer. But if you were to give it a really good prompt that was super in depth, you would probably get a way better answer. And now I'm not saying you need to go super in depth and do that inside of Facebook, but what I am saying is you need to understand the inputs that you're giving to the machine. So when we actually go back into Facebook and we take a second to actually better understand what we're telling the machine to do, first thing that we need to understand is that we're saying, hey, I want you to go and get purchases on either a 7-day click basis or a 1-day view basis. And for a lot of brands, that is honestly totally fine because they don't really have a lot of organic presence. And so what Facebook has to do is essentially go and find people to click ads and purchase, right? So most of you, just for the sake of you wanting to switch your attribution to 7-day click only, most of you are probably fine on this attribution setting, okay? As long as you scroll through and you double check your 7-day click purchase data versus your overall purchase data, and over 85 or 90% of your purchases are coming from 7-day click, then you're good. Because honestly, sometimes view through attribution can serve a purpose. Sometimes getting a view through purchase is good because that just means you're staying on top of warmer customers, right? With that said, if you're seeing an issue like this where you're getting more view through purchases than actual click through purchases, then you've got to step in and make a change. So now if we scroll back to the left here, what I want to help you understand is that we're telling Facebook very simply, we want you to go and find people who are going to purchase my product. That's number one. The next thing that we're doing, and I just added an additional category here, is we're telling Facebook to get us the highest volume of purchases at the lowest cost. So if we go back into this dummy campaign setup here, we are essentially running lowest cost, which is telling Facebook to get us as many purchases as possible for the lowest cost possible, right? You can see performance goal here is maximum number of conversions. So we're literally telling Facebook, just get us as many purchases as you can, which is again, what we want Facebook to do. But when you factor in the actual attribution setting here, you're giving Facebook a little bit of leeway on whether or not it's people who click or it's people who view. So Facebook, being the intelligent machine it is being told to 1, get you purchases, 2, to get you the highest amount of purchases possible at the lowest cost, and then to follow this attribution setting on whether or not it actually got that purchase for you. value. So what happens is when you're telling it to get you the most amount of purchases at the lowest cost, and it has the option to go and show your ads to people who are really hot or really warm in the funnel, and it can still take attribution as long as they see your ad, well, that's exactly what the machine is going to do, because that's what you're telling it to do. And so what we actually did here is we then, if we jump into the ad set here, switched all of our ad sets inside of here to 7-day click. And what you'll notice here is that we actually had an initial ad set here that was 7-day click or 1-day view. And if we scroll to the right, you can see here again, it looked like it was getting great performance, but when we look at actual 7-day click data, it only had 4 purchases. And so what we did is we now told the machine, no Facebook, no more view through attribution. I want you to go and find people that are going to actually click our ads and purchase because of that. And as a result, we were able to scale a lot further, and we were actually able to drive a lot more sales on the actual store. And as a result of doing that, we were actually able to accomplish the one thing that all clients care about, is actually more money in your bank account. Nobody cares about how good your Facebook ad account looks. And that's one small pitfall that I'd say a lot of agencies can have. They're going to try to make return on ad spend in your ad account look as good as possible. But at the end of the day, you don't care about what the return on ad spend looks like inside of Facebook. You care about how much you spent and how much money is actually going back into your bank account. So with all that said, by actually diving deeper into the data and understanding that click data is much stronger in driving people to your store to actually purchase from the ad, and because of the ad, you're able to optimize the machine differently so it actually makes you more money. Now, with that said, do we do this for every single client? And am I telling you to go into your ad account and turn off everything that's 7-day click, 1-day view and make sure you run 7-day click only? No, that is not what I'm telling you to do. For example, here is a client here that so far this month has, spent $4,800 on this catalog specific campaign, and it has 119 purchases, and 110 of them have been from 7-day click conversion data. In this instance, there really isn't much of a need to actually switch to 7-day click. Now, could we switch to 7-day click? For sure. And it's actually something that we're starting to test across all of our clients. So by all means, definitely feel free to test this specifically in your account. With that said, just because in that instance where there was a lot of view through attribution doesn't mean that 7-day click and 1-day view is bad. Again, in this instance, this client is getting really great results by optimizing on 7-day click, 1-day view, and the view through attribution is not really hurting the account, and it's also not really hurting what Facebook is doing. So with all that said, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, just to do a quick recap, I am not telling you to change all of your campaign to 7-day click only and remove view through data. What I am telling you to do is, number one, check your click conversion data to make sure that you're not being fooled by Facebook and that Facebook is actually adding revenue to your business rather than just taking credit for it. And number two, to go and test this for yourself. Even if your 7-day click, 1-day view attribution data and your ad account is doing fine, you can try testing 7-day click only to see what Facebook does. Because again, when you take away the option for Facebook to take credit for view through data, the machine has to optimize differently. So with that said, after watching this video, hopefully you aren't more confused on attribution settings. Just understand that click-based data is stronger data and view through data is weaker data, and make sure that you dive a layer deeper to actually understand what is going on inside of your Facebook ad account, so that way you can use it as a tool to actually drive sales for your business. If you happen to have a Shopify brand and you're looking for a growth focused and very transparent agency to partner with for the Q4 rush, I'd highly recommend to click the first link in the description down below. You can fill out that application form and you can book a one-on-one call directly with me. Or if you want to learn more about our strategies, there's also a link below to check out our Evolve consultation program, where you can also book a free 15-minute demo after you check out some of the resources there, and we can actually teach you how to do this for your business as well. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this week's video, and I'll see you in the next one.